Hey guys, I'm Forster here with another auto review. Now I've shown you my workhorse, dependable workhorse vehicles, my GMC Sierra and my 2003 Buick Regal. But this is my fun vehicle. This is my 2011 Genesis. It has a 4.6 liter V8 engine, and this is what it excels at on ramps. So we're getting on I-26. The traffic looks like it's fairly heavy, but this car can go from 0 to 60 in almost no time at all, just a matter of seconds. And instead of looking for a place to fit in to the traffic, if a car wasn't in my way, I can accelerate to exactly where I want to be. So the traffic's fairly heavy today. But this is the only vehicle that I've had really that has the power to accelerate so rapidly. So there's my odometer or speedometer, and we're going to get into traffic and we're going to go by a few cars. So I'm just keeping up with the traffic right now. I'm not accelerating, but I can put it in the wind and really accelerate if I want to. It has surprising power. And this is just your basic four-door sedan. So the traffic's heavy enough, I really can't do much to show it off. I'll show you the dash a little bit. So I've got 83,000 miles on it. And it gets decent gas mileage, showing 19.3 right now. It's got a nice digital display. It's the only vehicle that I drive that has that capability. So I'm going to drive it a little bit down the road, then I'm going to take it back to the house. I'll give you a walk around, I'll talk about it a little bit, and I'll tell you why, although it's the most fun vehicle I have to drive, why it's the vehicle that I have the least confidence in, and I drive it the least of any of the three vehicles that I have. It stays in the garage most of the time for just some jaunts around town. I don't take it, and I will not take it on a long distance trip. All right, so I'll see you back at the house. It'll take about 10 minutes for me to get there, but it'll seem like seconds to you. All right, I'm back home. Like I said, that probably didn't seem very long to you, but it took me about 10 minutes to get back. So this is my 2011 Genesis 4.6 liter V8 car sedan. So it's a four-door sedan, as you can see. I'll do a quick walk around. I love the style of this car. So this car has like a classic, timeless style that will never go out of fashion. So it's a 2011, but as far as I'm concerned, it could be 2025. I know Genesis has changed the look of their vehicles a lot, but I actually like this style much better than the more modern vehicles. This is the logo of the Genesis right there. I think it resembles sort of a Chrysler logo, only it's not as wide. And I'll give you a view of the vehicle from both sides and then the back. Then we'll take a quick look inside. There we go. While we're outside, I'll lift the hood, let you look at the engine. It's held up nicely by that hydraulic strut, and it's very, very clean. So I've done my own maintenance recently on it. Like I say, it has a V8 4.6 liter engine, and it looks brand new under this hood. It's been kept in the garage, and really for a 2011 has not been driven that far. I only have, what was it? I showed you when I was driving, about 86,000 miles, I believe. Let's look inside now. Now, everything about this vehicle, except one thing that I'll mention at the end, is quality. And even the sound of the doors. Listen to this. I mean, I can tell the quality is in this vehicle throughout just from the sound of the door. So I'm not going to try to give you a comprehensive review pointing out everything, but I'll just show you the things that I noticed. One are the seats, the leather of these seats, very comfortable. I know when I did a test drive, my back started hurting, but the seat was set for the current driver and not myself, and so I had to quit driving it actually. But now I have the seat adjusted for me and it is no problem whatsoever. Okay, we're inside now and I'm going to start it up. Okay, there's the screen. Let me cut this off so the sound off so I don't lose my monetization. Now, I do have a problem, so I only have 3 problems that I'm going to point out about this vehicle. One has been with this screen right here. So there's a caution up there, and there are periods of time where I have trouble getting that off. In fact, since I've had this vehicle, I can't get that screen off more than I can. So I've learned different tricks, and one trick is to take this controller right here, tap it down and turn it while I'm tapping. Tap and turn. So let me do that and let's see if it'll work. It was working recently when I was driving. I'm going to keep doing it. So let me show you what I'm doing. And see, that's what I'm talking about. So it was working when I was driving just a few minutes ago, but now it's not working. And it's very temperamental. Yeah, I have workarounds for it because I can control the radio from the steering wheel controls. So there are the steering wheel controls right there. There's the dash, and you can see, I said 86, it has 83,097 miles. And I really don't drive this that much at all. I would be surprised if I put more than 2,000 or 3,000 miles a year on it. And I'll tell you why. So everything about this vehicle is quality. Down here are some of the controls, and it does have heated and air-conditioned seat, at least for mine. It's just heated for the passenger seat. It has CD, and it'll contain multiple CDs. There's the air conditioning controls. The leather in here is wonderful. So the leather is on the doors. This is a leather up here. It's either leather or faux leather. One of the minor problems, very minor, is a crack in the dash over there. You can see it. So that's one of the problems. So I pointed out 2 problems, and I don't want to dwell on them, but one is the cracked dash. One is this that will not go away at times. I've taken this in to see if it could be repaired, and basically this whole thing has to be replaced. And the price that I got to replace it was $5,000. Can you believe that? So I can live with it as it is, or if push came to shove, I could just get an aftermarket part to put it in. But I've chosen to just leave it like it is. And recently, I've been getting it to work pretty often. Okay, I'm going to cut it off. I'll go around to the back and show you the back seat. Okay, the back seat is just as plush as the front. Same leather. I like the way this is perforated right there. It makes for a nice look, nice feel. So it does have a center console that comes down. Nice armrest and a place for a couple of drinks. This thing is really quality. I don't know, you have to feel it, touch it. Nice deep pockets. It's got its own climate controls back here in the back seat. Here's a good look at the logo. I think it's a classy logo. The whole thing is really classy. This is a luxury vehicle. So Genesis is to Hyundai, which is the parent company, as Lexus is to Toyota. Okay, I've given you a good overall look at the vehicle. It's in great condition. It's been garaged for most of its life, or all of its life, and so it's very clean. I did want to talk about, I've told you that it's the most fun vehicle that I have, but I wanted to talk about why I don't have confidence in it. So I will not take it on a long trip. In fact, the only time I drive it is to and from work and sometimes to and from church. So I put very few miles on it. But what happened was about a year and a half ago, the master cylinder went out that controls the brakes. It has a split master cylinder system, so even if half of it goes out, you still have some braking power. So I actually drove it for a while like that, and then took it to a mechanic that I have. It wasn't a dealership, but it was just a private mechanic that I have who does good work, and he replaced the master cylinder, but he didn't use factory parts, original parts. So he used aftermarket parts. On the way to a funeral, so I picked up the car and was driving to a funeral, and on the way there, the rear brakes locked up. Now, I didn't know it at the time. My initial reaction was that it was a fuel problem, because I was having to give it more gas and more gas, but then I realized, no, it had to be a brake system, and what it was the ABS sensor on this rear wheel right here went out, and so it locked the brakes up. And I was fortunate that I forced the car, before it finally stopped and I couldn't move it anymore, I forced it off the exit of the interstate and to the Genesis dealership, which was within a half a mile of where it happened. So I was very fortunate that time that I didn't have to be towed, that I wasn't stranded on the side of the road. And the Genesis dealership, I told them that I was on the way to a funeral. They personally rushed me to the funeral so I didn't miss it while they worked on the vehicle. So that was very fortunate, and I was very pleased with their service. Unfortunately, so they replaced the ABS sensor on this rear wheel, and I drove it, I'll say, for a month or two after that, and we were on the way to a wedding reception, and the same ABS sensor, the one that they had put on this one, the new one, and it was a factory part, went out again. And by that time, I realized some of the signs for early on that it had gone out again. I just had a sinking feeling in my stomach when it happened. I got to a rest area on the interstate. We were probably 50 miles away from home and had to call a tow truck to tow us in. Both times the sensor was replaced and covered by Genesis, but I did have to pay for some of the work that was done, like polishing the rotors. So that has been, after that happened 2 times, you know, I had to decide, could I trust this vehicle or not? And to be honest, I don't. Now, I became very aware of the signs, so I could recognize when it was about to happen, or when it was happening. And so I started driving very conscious of that. So one of the things that I would do is I would slightly let off the gas as I was driving to see if it would slow down normally, as it would if there were no braking problems. Another thing I became very sensitive of was the mileage. So that's one reason I had the miles per gallon showing on the dash, because if it starts dipping down, just dropping slightly when it shouldn't be, then that's another sign that I came to look for. And a third sign was the steering wheel. When it starts sticking, the steering wheel starts vibrating just a little bit. So I became very aware of those signs. I did not want to get stranded again, and actually the long distance tow was extremely expensive. So that's the history of why I don't have confidence in this vehicle. But I will say the last time it happened was about 9 months ago. I've been driving it ever since. It started to happen one time, the first signs of it sticking, and I got off the road immediately. And trying to get home, I just got off the road. I let it cool off. I turned the engine off and let it cool off, and then started it back up, tapping on the brakes when I started it. And the brakes released, and I was able to drive it on home, and I've been driving it ever since, and it hasn't done it again. I've probably put 500 to 700 miles on it since then. So that's the story to why I don't have confidence in this vehicle, but I will guarantee you that I enjoy driving it. And I'm becoming more and more confident of it the more I drive it. So that's the story of this 2011 Genesis 4.6 liter V8 engine, 4-door sedan. Y'all take care.